accepting this new normal, and it's anything but, you know, calm and tranquil. But so just thank you guys for being our warriors and our fighters during this time. So real quick, an update, because I'm going to have to jump off soon to get ready for the board meeting. Right now, the supervisor has been focused on just distributing masks. And so we were able to give a good chunk to the OMI today, and we'll keep, you know, fundraising and distributing masks as quickly as we can get it. We think we've identified a source for sanitizer. You know, we had to, you know, find some that fell off the back of a truck, and a friend to a friend whose cousin had to hook up to the sanitizer. So we're gonna get that hopefully by the end of this week, and have to bottle ourselves so that we can then get it out to y'all. I know there was a caravan that had happened last week, and we want to work with you all to make sure that we do another one really soon, and make sure that we hit all the right spots, that we take our time to talk with the business owners and community within the area. So Bernard, I'll be reaching out to you to set that up. And in addition to that, really what our focus has been is, as some people are starting to come back to work, it's making sure that they have everything they need in terms of PPE and cleaning supplies. So specifically for the family child care providers, we have about, you know, I'm not sure if you knew this because I didn't realize this until recently. We have 700 family child care providers in the city, and close to 50% of them are all within our district. And so there's a lot of providers who have suffered dramatically because of the loss in tuition because of their students being home. And so now they're getting ready to gear up to accept more kids as people can go to work. So we're really working with individually with each one to get them the supplies they need, to get the training they need, to make sure that their selves and their staff are operating safely as they come back to work. And so we're going through the Office of Early Care and Education with the director, Ingrid Mesquita, to kind of make sure that everyone is covered. So if you know of any other child care providers that have questions, feel free to send them to me. I will help. We have some good news in terms of additional food resources that will be coming to the area next week. And so as soon as that's finalized, I can make that announcement. But we have a great partnership that's, you know, coming into the district to help, you know, provide with more food resources, which is, to be honest, the #1 need of our community. And we're not planning for this to be short term, because even with shelter in place lifting, we know many of our community, many of our people have lost their jobs. And so we want to make sure that we're creating plans that can be sustainable at least until the end of the year. So food security is our big thing. I just got off the phone, Bernard, with the Office of Technology in terms of internet access. And because we've heard from many of the families in the OMI that many of the students are having trouble engaging in the long distance learning because of internet access. And so they shared with me a few ideas of what they can do, but I will need addresses. And so if all of you have any families who are not able to access internet, or even with the hotspots still not working, please email me their addresses, because what the Office of Technology said they can do, there's a variety of solutions. They can work with AT&T to point their satellites in our direction, in our neighborhood. They can have SFUSD individually work with each family to make sure, to problem solve, to make sure if it's a Chromebook, if it's a hotspot, if it's the connection, whatever it is, to problem solve with them to make sure they have access, or something else. So please, amongst you all, if you have addresses for students, please, or anyone, please email them to me. I think there's some legislative stuff that we're doing as well in terms of worker protections and more supports for families during this time. But I think that's about it for this week. We'll have definitely some more announcements next week. But if there are any questions from y'all, I'm more than happy to take some for the next few minutes. Don't be shy. I don't bite.
My name is Mary Thomas. I remember getting information from you, but I'm sorry, I don't have, my phone has died and I have a new one, so it's not working well. So if you can give me your phone number or email, because
a couple of seconds, Ash.
Sorry, I have my coworker next to me. What I can do right now is I'll put in my chat the my contact information so y'all can have it. So this is my cell phone. and then my email address. So yes, please email me.
Okay.
Perfect. But yeah, so for early care education, yeah, they're putting, all requests are going through OECE in terms of PPE, but then the trainings are happening through WUE and Children's Council. Okay, was there another question?
Thank you.
When you said you, this is Mary Harris, when you said you gave out masks in the OMI, where was that at? Was that the food pantry or where else?
So we gave out 300 a couple weeks ago at the food pantry. We gave a few hundred to Renard with Youth First. We handed some out today with IT Bookman as well as Catholic Charities, and we are scheduling kind of a street outreach to occur within the next couple of weeks that will give out 200 more. And so, the supervisor is actively working on raising money and then distributing masks because we're going to need them throughout this whole thing.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. And no, Daniel, I'm not giving out my social security. No, my address. I'm good. It's okay. All right. Anyone else? Please. There's so many questions. There's so many things that are up in the air. We're kind of, doing all we can and scrambling to meet the needs. And we're all learning as we go. And so please, if there are any needs specifically that you or your family or organization identify that I don't know about, please let us know, because we're all about crisis response right now. And we're all about making sure that our community survives, that we have have secure shelter, that we have food access, that we have access to internet and the tools you need to engage in long distance learning or your employment remotely, and anything else. I think I'm going to get over that barrier. We're going to start to see what the next round of needs are, but we're still trying to do all we can to get those 3 needs met first. So please do not hesitate to call or email. Mm-hmm. Yes, it's Thrive, Felicia. I hear you.
Hey, Monica, quick question. I got information on 300 or 500 meals, prep meals coming our way. Is that for D11?
Yes, you shared my news a little quicker. So that's the kind of news I wanted to update next week. But so thanks to our dear friend Gwen, Chefs for America, that really kind of famous one that's on the news from like Bobby Flay, they're going to be delivering 600 meals a day into D11. And so we're going to be dividing that amongst the OMI, amongst Excelsior, amongst Outer Mission, Croc, Amazon, etc., to really provide these prepared substantive dinner meals each day. We're starting with 3 days a week, and then we're going up to 5. SF Christian Center is going to be the home for this operation. So thank you, Delia, for making the intros and helping make it happen, and for Brianna, who's on the call, but she's with 18 Reasons, who's going to be managing that on-site coordination. So that's going to be 600 meals a day. So when we ramp up to 5 meals, that's 3,000 prepared meals a week. So that's happening. We're going to be starting that this upcoming Monday, and it's going to be great. That's just one of the other kind of things that we're doing to really help provide food resources for our families. It's not the one and done. We're trying to do everything we can to get as much food as we can for our community. Okay, that's that. Any other questions? Concerns, comments? Have you all been on the M again since it went back on this week? Have you seen it coming around? All right, well, no worries. Okay, Delia, everyone, I'm gonna have to hop off right now, but please, my email, my phone number is there. Call me, call us, contact us anytime. We're here to help. All right, everyone. All right, Delia.
Monica.
Yeah? Or who talked? All right, bye.
Me. I was saying, yay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, no worries. Bye, y'all.
All right. I'll take this off for a second. All right. So, Delia, is there anything else you want to add to the agenda right now?
No.
All set? Okay, cool. So, I guess one thing I had that was to build on just Monica's piece, just because obviously they say the proverbial barn doors are opening. Are there, for the organizations on the call, how many of you do you feel do you feel you have adequate guidance and for the reopening phase of this for your sites, and adequate resources to meet those guidance goals and staff capacity to implement those guidance goals? Do people on this call that manage facilities feel pretty good about where they are in that process? Any, is silence golden? Yes? All right, good, excellent. That's good news. Other communities are just sharing that they feel that they're having a hard time securing the cleaning supplies that they are going to have necessary, as well as trying to figure out how to train their staff to meet maybe some of the new standards that they're going to be asked to achieve with the cleaning. So just wondering if that's something that this group would like more information on as it begins to come together here. So we can revisit that later. With that though, now's an exciting step in the process that's been sort of culminating over the last 3 weeks, which was to really harden our strategy around how to pre-position ourselves and our residents for future events like the one we're going through right now, and be able to lean forward faster to make sure that everybody who needs help is getting the help they need. And we don't feel that we are leaving anyone behind. So, and I've asked David Munoz to join the call here because obviously the grant, part of the funding that we have to spend on this project is at CYC, and also he's just a brilliant lad in the first place. So on the high level, I believe that what we had discussed was coming up with a campaign that would be a door-to-door activity, most likely be a door hanger campaign that would have messaging included in it that would elevate the Resilient OMI initiative, its mission and goals and objectives, and then it would offer a 2-lane activation. The first activation would to say, if you'd ever like to contribute to our efforts to protect our vulnerable neighbors during times of stress, join our organization, and we will keep you up to in the loop as to opportunities as they arrive that you can participate in. And then the other lane that we were going to ask people was to just simply ask them, do you feel like you'd like to have someone check on you during times of stress, and not really get caught up in a big HIPAA conversation about like, do you have any ADA issues or medical conditions that we need to know about? But just simply in a very broad strokes, just say, if you'd like someone to check on you during times of stress, please call this phone number. And then they could call a phone number and leave a message. And the layer to that would be, of course, that would have to be, those guidance or instructions would need to be offered in multiple languages. And we'd also obviously need to be able to, when we download the messages, should they arrive in multiple languages, be able to translate them. The idea that was on the table was to reward people that do call with a kit of supplies. They were very connected to the COVID-19 issues. So there was like masks and hand sanitizer and any other things that Patty Clement comes up with, because she's always got 7 more things than I can think of that should be in there. And she always gets it for 50% off. So I don't know how she does that either. So she's like who's that financial consultant, Susie Corman or something, right? She's like the Susie Corman or whatever of disaster management.
Susie Corman.
Yes, that's it. And then they would get that dropped off at their house as the first step in their readiness goals, but also to close the loop on their participation. And then the idea being is to then perhaps work with one of our agencies, and Felicia, it was our loss, you weren't on the call last week, but to really figure out the wellness check strategy. And so, for example, in Miraloma Park and other neighborhoods, it's being completed by community connectors. In this community, maybe it could be IT Bookman or someone that would maybe quarterback the wellness check program based on its capacity and needs, and maybe volunteers could supplement that. So that was kind of my synopsis from the last few calls, and I open up to everyone for any edits or modifications or additions.
I was going to say that IT Bookman is already doing wellness checks, but it's not the whole community. It's to our like 125 or so registered participants.
Okay. And that would be the question, right? Is that in Miraloma Park, Community Connectors has a contract to support the whole community, all the seniors in Miraloma Park. And so they said, well, then we can onboard more seniors because that's part of our contract. And I'm not trying to pressure IT Bookman to making that same declaration, but putting out there that there might be some way, hopefully, to increase the capacity of IT Bookman in future events, if they wouldn't mind using their expertise, though, because of the work they're doing already around wellness checks to understand the complicated science behind that and the escalation issues that come up with as well. So, so with that, we can step back all the way to the door hanger piece. One of the options is to use an existing door hanger that's been created by the city and county of San Francisco, and then add information to it about resilient OMI. I would say from a financial standpoint, high quality door hangers that are die cut, that do fit on doors and stay on doors are relatively expensive. And so if you can use an existing door hanger, but then staple or attach your information to it as other neighborhoods have, it's phenomenally less expensive than to create your old door hanger and have it printed, just because of the cost of paper, the cost of production, and the die cut to put the door hanger hole in there. So what do people think? We have a lot of door hangers downstairs that we can use. Do you like the idea of using an existing door hanger the city provides and then attaching an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper? What do people think? It'll probably save you a couple $1,000s if you go that approach, just to be clear.
That sounds much more practical and doable, and it would happen a lot quicker, and then we could just add that OMI resilient part.
Exactly. So we'll use an existing door hanger.
Yes.
And we have several to choose from. And then, but we'll then create and attach an OMICC document.
Right.
And it could be color. It could be very attractive. It doesn't have to be, an ugly third cousin or something like to the door hanger. So it can still be complementary and magnify what's on the door hanger, but then also, of course, magnify your message as well.
Ugly third cousins are still valuable.
That's right. Let's just put it that way. Well, that's because I am a third cousin.
Yeah,
although
sometimes they're a pain in the ass.
I know, exactly. So, so with that, we could, also the nice thing about not going with the door hanger format is it's easier to present information on a document that's a little more rectangular than a door hanger footprint. So then there's the actual OMI language or document, centric document that people have discussed. And we've talked about it's going to intro the OMICC and then the 2 activation points that people are interested in advancing, which is volunteering and or getting support. So that's a unique project unto itself. And maybe at the end of the call, we can identify who would like to participate in the actual generation of that document as far as content, layout, design, and translation. And I believe we could get the support from CYC for translation. Yep. So that's a big step. So we just need to work on the content piece. And maybe at the end of the call, we can identify some folks that might want to work offline on it. Hopefully it's not a very complicated document. The next question then would be the logistics of distributing this incredibly beautiful communication asset. So how do we see getting the door hangers all over the OMI Alps down there? So what would be, how do we think that would be logistically accomplished? Open to the floor.
Well, this is Mary Harris. I can get the same people that helped with the 1,200 that we already put out. But we could also, put it on Nextdoor or whatever and ask for volunteers. I'm sure that there'll be other people that would help with the distribution.
Okay.
And I don't know about other organizations, what their volunteer base is.
Maybe we could reach out to NERT, for example, and ask NERT/alert to see if they would help. Maybe that might be an option too. So Nextdoor, build a volunteer team just for the door hanger campaign, and then
Right.
maybe NERT or alert as well. Okay,
Right.
excellent.
The co-Ingleside NERT leader lives next door to me, so that'll be helpful.
Great, great. Any other ideas for the door hanger distribution? It doesn't have to be a very complicated strategy. So I would imagine if we got like a dozen people, we could do it in a weekend, hopefully.
I'd be willing to help, and also I can reach out to the Lane neighbors and see if anybody in that group is interested. People can reach out to their own organization and see if there's volunteers, especially if it's just a weekend deal.
Sure. And we could even, oh, go Monica, I apologize.
I just said Nextdoor is good too, because that reaches a lot of people.
Sure. Who would want, I guess on your team then, who would be the person that would want to coordinate and onboard the volunteers that might present? Who would want to maybe explore that opportunity? It's not actually a very difficult job because the way we set it up is we do a Google form that people complete. And so once they complete that form, all that language dumps into a spreadsheet. And so it's already organized for you. And then all you have to do is really send them an email and set up a call, which we can help with a Zoom session. We do a debriefing and we have a PowerPoint and everything already put together for all that. And we simply create an action plan, but you really have to find someone in your neighborhood to sort of oversee the operations logistics of the volunteers. So, getting the door hangers, assembling the door hangers with your attached piece, and then setting it all up so that when the volunteers are ready to go, they have bags and door hangers and it's relatively organized and we know where they're going and we can make sure that we reach the whole neighborhood. So we need to find someone to do that. And there's a chance that person may present during the outreach on Nextdoor. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a decision made right now, but I would kind of poke around your neighborhood to see who's kind of a type A people person that wouldn't mind taking on a project like this. They do exist. So something to think about. And maybe even within your own networks and your organizations, if you have a team member in your organization who you think might want to take this on, be happy to work with them. So, okay, and so then we have the actual distribution of the door hangers. Then the next thing we have to do is actually set up a Google phone number. And the Google phone number would then be set up for people to call. And then you can work out some kind of partnership, maybe with CYC or someone, so that if you have people calling in Chinese or Spanish, Tagalog, or English, regardless of what the voicemail is, whatever language the voicemail's in, you'll be able to glean the data from it and convert that into a case or some kind of record that you can use moving forward. So that would be another step, is to set up your Google number, right? And then the final piece would be the kits and their delivery, right? And maybe that would just be built into the volunteer effort. So part of the effort on Nextdoor would be to identify people that want to help assemble the kits and help deliver them as well. And proportionally speaking, if you're going to distribute, 3,000 door hangers, you probably are not going to deliver 3,000 kits. It'll probably be 10% or something like that. So you'll have about maybe 100, 200 kits to get delivered to folks. So that may not be that big of a lift from a volunteer standpoint, just to complete that task. So it seems to, oh, go for it.
Can some people just pick up the kit at a certain pickup point? IT Bookman or NIA or whatever? I mean, do we have to deliver all of them?
No, we don't. That's a really good point. So we just need to come up with options that reflect people's mobility issues and goals and opportunities, right? And so we can certainly do that.
And then, you know, missing on the call is OMI Family Resource Center. They do the pantry and offer services on Broad Street, and they seem to have a good volunteer base, and I think they should be in this conversation because I think they could be helpful, and they also have some capacity. I don't know exactly what capacity for translation also. They've tried to keep, Chinese and Spanish staff members, but I don't know if they're all, that position is always filled.
Okay.
But they definitely should be with us in this call and in this conversation.
What's the name of the point person there that you work with?
What's her name, Al? Leanna Orozco.
Does anyone else know Leanna as well on this call? Anyone?
Yeah, they do their food distribution out of our parking lot Tuesday morning. So they had a very busy morning.
I bet. I assume they have, if they're doing that kind, they must have a lot of volunteers, huh?
Well, it's mostly staff from the Y, and I think they were doing some deliveries too afterwards.
Is the Family Resource Center?
Prior to COVID, they had a lot of volunteers. They just don't let them do it at the food pantry at this time.
Yeah.
Is the OMI? Go, Mary.
But they do have a volunteer base for other things. But right now, to be safe, they're not letting them do it, the food pantry.
And is that a YMCA facility?
Yes.
Okay, great. Laura, did you have something you want to add? Nope. Okay.
Yeah, it's just a YMCA facility. It is. It's run by the Y.
So would this be a partnership with the Y, this project of maybe perhaps?
Yeah, it'd be a conversation with Leanna and see what her capacity is to be able to support. And
okay.
I know, yeah, it'd be a conversation about how we could merge resources and bring her into.
Sure.
It seems like we just have to be careful when we're compiling the information so that everybody's wearing gloves and social distancing and all that stuff. We have to take into consideration, right? Then people will be needing to wear gloves and masks while they put this stuff together.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. That's part of the whole nuance to this project.
But we need some space.
But the good news is people that have been doing the food pantry work have already been pretty versed on that. So it's that's why it's a good partnership to leverage. And again, this activity may not happen for a few months. So let's be clear, like hopefully, well, who knows, the food security issues don't seem to be going anywhere fast, but there might be some bandwidth downstream that they could participate in. So that'll be kind of like the final step is the assembly of the kits and their distribution. So, and then the only other thing is then who's going to sort of, sit on this, this project moving forward. And you kind of need one person who is just, sort of owns the database and just keeps it sort of tent pulled up until it may be needed, which based on some of the science data that's coming out could be as soon as this fall. So, just need a team lead that's like making sure that, the Google Drive is still set up and working. And I mean, it's almost like zero maintenance, but just to have someone who actually knows the password wouldn't be a bad thing. So just put that on the table for someone to consider. And you might find, again, through this volunteer outreach that person may present during the volunteer outreach phase of this whole thing. So I don't know. It seems like this is the scope of it as a project. The budget we have, I believe, is around $5,400, I believe, from the remaining balance that hasn't been spent. Delia and Laura, I yield to you on the dollars and cents piece.
Yes, it's 56, about a little over 5,600.
Okay. And then we have the funds from the supervisor's office for the resilience work. And David, is that around 9,000 right now? What is it about right now?
Yeah, it's around 9,000.
Okay. Now, the funds that I believe the CYC fund, the dollars that CYC have a longer shelf life than the $5,600 that you have. So what I would suggest is, let's spend down that $5,600, which is actually not a pretty decent amount funding, and see what we can get for $5,600, and then come back around, and if there are any gaps or opportunities, use the remaining dollars after June to address those gaps. Because, obviously, apparently there are other threats and risks out there aside from COVID-19. So this fall could be poor air quality heat wave season again. And we'll all be back in our houses as usual. So I would offer maybe that's a roadmap to consider. So with that, we kind of need to, as a team, create a rough budget on this. It would appear to me that if you did color 1,200 two-sided colored page document, we can get a quote on that pretty easy from Kinko's or something like that. We could probably wrap our brains around what would be in a kit, and I would yield to Patty and Felicia and anyone else who has some expertise on seniors and health and wealth. And so maybe they could scope out what a kit would look like, and we could then use that as a budgeting exercise. So if we project that, I don't know, I yield to Patty and Felicia and anyone else on this call. What do you think, based on like your work around census tracts in the OMI, what do you think the total number of potential participants in this program could be? Is it 500, 600 people? What do you think the number is? Any thoughts?
I didn't unmute myself. I was just talking. Are we saying for the whole District 11?
No, just in the OMI. So if you look at the neighborhood, what do you think the percentage of folks that might consider participating in this program as a member, as a beneficiary? It's an important number because that's going to impact how much product you need to purchase, what kind of volume discounts you might get, and then also total per piece. So it's kind of an important number to have under our belt. We could do some research on it, but I just didn't know if anyone had a rough number off the top of their head.
I'd love to think that we could get, a couple, 200-300 involved.
Oh, sure. We just did the same exercise up in Miraloma Park. They actually did the project they're doing in District 7, where they took the voter rolls and pulled all the people out that were over 60 years of age. I was surprised how many people in Miraloma Park qualified in that category. And so it was significantly more than I thought was a member of our population. So put out there that is it conservative to say 400, let's say 400 people might respond and want to be a beneficiary? Do you think that's an unreasonable number?
No, I don't think it. No.
Okay.
I don't think so. I think it's the low number, actually.
Okay.
You think we could get 500, Mary?
I think so, yes.
Okay. Well, why don't we use that as a multiplier for the kit development piece? How many households do you think there are in the OMI?
I'm trying to think.
Is that a number that the supervisor might have?
Oh, definitely. Definitely.
Okay.
He's running for re-election. He has a number.
Yeah, there is a silver lining to all this campaign work, right? Is you can repurpose it, right? So, well, we can reach out to him as well, and see if DPH might have some data regarding total number of vulnerable populates. But I think 500 is a very positive number. And I would assume the number of households is probably upwards of around 3,000 to 4,000 households. That seems pretty consistent, depending on how you define the footprint, which would be the ultimate piece, which is then we need to define the footprint for the outreach and go from there. So that would be the next big step, is to get out a map and say, this is the footprint we're covering. I mean, are we going to go from like Brotherhood Way, Alamany, all the way to Ocean Avenue, all the way to Juniper Serra, all the way to 280? Is that the OMI? Any thoughts or observations on that? OMI.
Previously it was. We used to go from Alamany, Juniper Serra, Ocean Avenue to San Jose. But some of that is now District 7, so we don't, some of that isn't as in the OMI anymore.
Yeah, I think
With redistricting, we lost all of Ingleside terraces and from, what's the street? I guess Holloway to Ocean Avenue, we lost that.
Cool. Do we, so Holloway, is it Holloway the new cutoff?
Yes.
Okay.
we can look at District 11 map. We can figure out where the dividing line is between us and Excelsior. Because I know that Mission Terrace is considered part of Excelsior.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
The dividing lines in Alamany or San Jose.
So we get a map out and document this. I do want to put out that just because a city gerrymanders your neighborhood doesn't mean that your neighborhood has to be gerrymandered through your health goals. So just to put out there that if you want to go all the way to Ocean Avenue, the county clerk will not call you up and cancel your election. So just put it out there. And then
So what are the borders you're thinking again, Daniel?
Old school would be Ocean to Alamany, Brotherhood Way, and Juniper Serra to 280 or San Jose.
Right.
That's old school.
Right.
So if you want to go old school, if you want to go new school, you just move the line up to Holloway and let everyone know.
And then Holloway and Health would be the other cutoff.
Yeah. Yeah. And then the people on Urbano can just, muscle it out. So it's up to the group.
That's District 7. That's the terraces.
Yeah.
Norman East problem.
There you go. That's how we roll. That's because Mayor Harris negotiated that in the Great Treaty of 1987.
That's right.
Oh my
That's
God!
right.
You don't know how hard I worked at every redistricting meeting. Oh my God.
So if you do not onboard the community between Holloway and Ocean Avenue, it will reduce, maybe, I don't know, significantly, but it would reduce percentage-wise the amount of outreach you have to do. Flip side is there might be a lot of motivated volunteers in that neighborhood, so that might be something you'd walk away as well. Okay, so that kind of is the framework that I feel is a good start. What does everyone think? Have we missed anything in this conversation? Laura's giving thumbs up. I like it. Next question would be, who would like to join the sort of messaging, budgeting? I mean, we have to get this team a little smaller. So who would like to participate in sort of like the final scoping of the document, and then and then coming up with the language for the flyer. I see Maurice giving me a thumbs up here. I think that's a volunteering piece. So we have to scope out the project, put together a budget, and then begin the development of the copy, and then just work on logistics after that. So who would like to participate in that part of the project? Oh my goodness, here we go. It's the Maurice show. Okay.
You can help look at it.
Okay. All right. And Helen wants to contribute on any volunteering around Chinese, which would be great. So she can work with CYC on that because they're going to probably take point on translation. Well, there are a few options here, so we can talk offline about them on how to build out some capacity here. But I do feel that we definitely need to get some folks on the table. Maurice, you want to share something?
Just raising my hand.
Oh, okay, cool. So, well, we kind of need to figure this piece out. So if this means that we need to mine the neighborhood for some go-getter readiness people, then maybe that's what we need to do. Maybe there's some motivated NERT trained people that want to make a difference. So maybe that might be something we can engage NERT about as well. So, and then I saw there was a little dialogue going on about MIEP. So MIEP is not going to be an option for any of this year. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, I'm happy to work with David to type this up and bring it back to the group for ratification. And then we just need to pull some folks together and at least get the budget piece done in time for the deadline that's in front of us. It's a little ways out, but just it'll be upon us in no time. So when do we have to have that? Laura, can you give us an update on what benchmarks we need to shoot for as far as spending down these funds?
Getting the plug calendar here. I would say by beginning of May, a solid plan by the 20th
of May.
Of May. Yeah. Okay.
And what time do we need? By when do we need to have begin the spending down of funds?
Oh, we have a deadline to spend down the funds by June 15th. Okay. A little wiggle room after that, but the goal is June 15th.
So we'd have to have the documents printed and the preparedness kits purchased by then?
Yes.
Okay. All right. You hear that, folks? So we are going to be moving relatively quickly, about 40 days to pull this together. So that should be doable. Okay. Anything else that people feel hasn't been addressed or considered in this important project? Okay. All right. Well, I kind of feel like this is, it's just really about finding the Army. So that's going to be our thing. I think I'm going to ask everyone to start looking in their organization or their social network and see if we can find folks. It'd be great to circle back and talk to, is it Leanna? So maybe Laura, we can connect with you about that opportunity as well. How's that sound?
Yes.
Okay, great.
And I just sent an email to Monica asking her about numbers of household.
Okay, great, great. All right, everyone, that's kind of all I got. If there's nothing more, we can move the call to conclude. So just putting it out there. Okay. Okay, so David and I are going to huddle and get our story straight here from a documentation standpoint. Then we'll circle back and I guess next week hopefully have a ratified plan and maybe even a budget. Patty, is there any chance that we can circle back with you offline and get your thoughts on the kit aspect of it? We do have a little money here, so it could be more than just hand sanitizer and a mask. So something to think about, some of the earlier ideas, Patty, you had to make it more of an all hazards, all risk kit.
Yeah, and then looking at how we can complement what we've already given out since we've done several hundred kits. I don't want to duplicate all that I'd like to do the other. And okay, I'll be honest. I have a little personal stash of hand sanitizer that I had put in pretty little Catholic charity bottles that I've been waiting to use as a distribution.
Oh, cool.
I might be able to donate them to the cause.
Oh, there you go. All 12 million?
I think I had around 500.
Perfect. There's
I
that
don't know how
number.
many. I got to count the boxes.
Excellent. Thank you so much. That's very kind of you. Great. You see? So we can, there's maybe some other ways and things that we can do to strengthen the kit. So, all right. Well, anyone else have anything they want to add to the conversation? Well, feel free to email us with ideas or opportunities, or if you see anybody you think needs something to do that you think would be good at maybe helping lead this project or organize or contribute, start paying closer attention to your network right there. And I don't know, I feel like we achieved our goals for this conversation today. Is there anything that anyone else like to add to this call before we shut it down? All right. Does everybody miss the food court at Stonestown? Ah, Teresa's smiling. I know she is. She's like, I need those damn pancakes. I can't explain it. They're so fluffy.
No. I think we lost Felicia.
Felicia's smiling. There she is. All right, folks. Well, the new normal starts this month, so let's all lean into it. And with that, I yield to the facilitator on the call.
Okay.
All right, everyone. I just want to reiterate one more time, the link's been posted in the chat, but all essential workers or any SF resident that is exhibiting symptoms can now be tested. Just visit the link sf.gov/citytestsf. And with that, that'll conclude this week's OMICC meeting. Thanks for joining, everyone.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Good day, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
All right.
All right, I think that's everyone. It's just Delia and us at the community branch now.
All right.
Thank you, Delia. And I would ask that our production team end the recording.